So I'm going to start recording this now. So I was just explaining that we have two different websites where the public can come and put in their flight requests. First Class Discount Air is one of them. Flyer Smiles is one of them. And when they fill in the request in these websites, it comes into our CRM, which is called the Agent Management System. And we have three different types of workers that deal with the requests. The top level is the salesperson, which is a luxury flight consultant. That's somebody who's been quoting for quite a while, and they've also done telemarketing for us, and they advance to become a salesperson if they want to. The salesperson goes in here and picks the leads to work on. This is a list of leads that have come in from the website. There's only one left right now. All the rest have been picked by salespeople. And besides putting the request either at First Class Discount Air or at Flyer Smiles, they can also click on this green live chat button at the side of either website. And then those come in here to this help desk, and those also become a request. And so whether they fill it out on either website or on the chat help desk, it comes in here and becomes one of these leads. And then the salesperson picks it. And then either the salesperson or the telemarketer goes into this section where it has my requests, and then they call the customer and let them know that a quote's coming, tell them to watch their spam in case it gets lost in their spam, and just make sure all the details are correct and so on. So this one has just come in. So let me, as a quoter, you don't have to call anybody, but I'm also a salesperson and a telemarketer. I've got all three functions. So therefore, I'm going to try and call this gal since she hasn't been called yet, and make sure she knows that the quotes are coming and the details are accurate and so on. So bear with me a minute. As a quoter, you don't have to call anybody. You just do emails. Okay, she didn't answer because her phone's busy. So then the telemarketer puts in here, the telemarketer or the salesperson puts that in here. And so even though we don't reach the customer, we still send the quote if we have all the details. Again, as a quoter, you don't have to call anybody. This is all just explaining how it gets to you as a quoter. So you can see her dates are here and the city, and then the telemarketer or the salesperson changes the status up here. Instead of attempting contact, it'll say pending quote. And then they save it. And then that's when it gets to your area as a quoter. As a quoter, you go in here and click on quotes needed. And just a second. And the quotes needed are in two sections. The top section says pending requote. And the pending requotes means that, like, this one's had 7 quotes already, but it needs more quotes because she's changed something, or she's got new dates, or now she wants round trip instead of one way, whatever. So if you were working on these requotes, you would first go in and you don't click new because that starts a new quote and you're not sure you want to start a new quote yet. So instead of clicking new, you click the plus, and the plus lets you look and see what's been sent to this customer already. And you can see that only one of these says that it's a requote. So all of these others in here have nothing to do with anything now. They're obsolete because they were the old information before she asked for a requote. So there's only been one quote here sent that complies with her request for a requote. So this one says that the requote was sent using Delta miles. That's what this deal in the beginning is. So Margarito has done one requote so far. He's quoted it at a price of $27.93. There's $400 GP. GP stands for gross profit, which is the profit that the company is making if the customer buys the ticket. GP is gross profit. This is the selling price. The customer pays for it. This is the name of the flight researcher who did it. This is the 7th attempt at sending a quote to this person. Some attempts are successful and some are not successful. A quote that's not successful is one that the researcher finds out that we're not competitive, or it's not available, or there's no flights available. So like this one up here, one of the quoters previously, before she asked for a requote, found out that there was nothing available on CX, and that was Donna Lynn. And then Donna Lynn also tried Air Canada, but she found that Air Canada was uncompetitive, so she closed this one as uncompetitive. But that was the previous request. That was before she asked for a requote. So these are all irrelevant now. You can ignore all the ones that don't say requote, because this customer is asking for something new now, and the only one that says requote in it is this one. So Delta has been done for a requote, but none of the others that we work on have been done. So we could work on this one again if we wanted to, but I'm just showing you this right now. We may not work on it. So then you can go down to the next one and look at it, same thing. There's a whole bunch of pending requotes here that you can work on. And after you, and by the way, this shows how old they are, how long ago the customer first put their request on the website. So this one was 389 hours ago. So that was quite a while ago. This one, these at the top, I think, just a second. These at the top are less, or they're newer. This one was 4 hours ago. This one was 7 hours ago. This one was 89 hours ago. So a lot of times people wait a week or two before they reply to us and ask for a requote. So some of these requotes are really old, and you still work on those as long as they're mentioned or requested that you work on them. You only work on the ones that are 200 hours old or less, unless we specifically give you that name in Skype and say this person wants a requote. So if you see it in Skype saying this person wants a requote, it doesn't matter how old it is, you still work on it. But if you're just going through here and browsing and looking for one to work on your own, then you only work on the ones that are less than 200 hours old, which is, roughly, 10 days old or less. Okay, so you could work on these new ones, all of these that are less than 200 hours old, without being asked. If you're asked in Skype, or there's one that's mentioned in Skype, so-and-so, John Arnold needs a requote, or let's go down here and say this Fabiana wants a requote, then even though it's over 200 hours, you would work on it, specifically because it was mentioned in Skype to you to work on it. So you only work on things that are less than 200 hours old, unless there's a request in Skype to work on it. Then you can work on it at any age. If you want to, let's see, you can go down past all these requotes and go to where the time gets to be. See how this is 800 hours and it's a requote? If you go down far enough, you'll see that it doesn't say requote anymore. It's not 800 hours anymore. This one is only 16 minutes old, and it's because it's not a requote. It says pending quote. So after you get past all the requotes, remember, you only work on requotes if they're less than 200 hours old, unless we ask you to work on it in Skype, then you work on any of them. If you're done working on the requotes that are fresh, the new ones, then you come down here past this 800-hour mark and you get to something that's brand new. This one's only 16 minutes old. And that's because it's not a requote. It's just a new request from the website. That's where these appear. After you get past all the requotes, then you get to the new ones. And the new ones obviously are the best ones to work on because they're fresh. And like this one right here, nobody's even worked on it yet. It has 0 attempts. This one's had 1 attempt. If I was going to go work on this one, I would click, I don't click new yet. First I click the plus and look and see what's been done already if I wanted to work on this one. And it looks like Crystal is trying to work on Air Canada, Asia Miles, and Delta for this person. So I wouldn't use any of those. I'd use something else. I'm not doing the same thing as Crystal. This one that has 0, I can go ahead and work on this one for sure. So I'm going to hit, so this one down here that she's already worked on 3 different types of miles for the quote. You would have to work on something other than these 3 because these 3 are already being worked on. There's about 10 of them to work on, so there's still 7 more you could work on. So there's no reason why you couldn't pick this one. But just for training, I'm going to pick this one that has 0 attempts yet. And so therefore, since I know for sure I'm going to work on it, I don't need to hit the plus to look at what's happened already, because nothing's happened. It's a 0 right here. So I'm going to hit new because I know I'm going to work on this one. So you want to work on the ones that are 0 first, then the 1s, then the 2s, then the 3s, and the newest ones are the best to work on first also. So this is a new one that has a 0. So I'm going to change this status to researching. I'm going to make sure it has my name up here at the top right. And then I'm going to decide what kind of miles I'm going to try and use first. She's going to Singapore, so obviously I'm going to try Singapore. We sometimes put the customer's name here in this, but it's not really necessary because you can see what the name is anyway. It's already up there at the top. So you can put the name here. I'm trying to figure out why that name changed colors here. What did I do? I must have hit a button that I don't know what. Oh, I see. I hit the search button, so it's searching for her name up there. That's why it was discolored. Okay, so I can put SQ4, but it's obvious who it's for, so I don't necessarily have to put her name here. I can just put, you know, SQ there, and that's good enough that I'm working on SQ. So after I do that, I hit save. So I can put her name there or not. Just a second. I want to see why I've got that mark. There we go. I got rid of it. I had a mark on my screen that I wanted to get rid of. It was like a pointer. Okay, so we told everybody we're working on SQ. Besides that, you go into step 1 and you put, uh-oh, somebody's already working on SQ. So she didn't. How did that happen? It has 0 attempts, but it's already marked. Oh, I see. She must have clicked on it at the very same time we did, because when we clicked on it, it said 0. Now all of a sudden it says 2. So I can't work on SQ because somebody beat me to it. Remember when I clicked on it, it was a 0, so mine should be a 1. But at the very same instant I clicked on it, it looks like Emma clicked on it, and so she's the 1 and we're the 2. So I can't work on SQ because she's already doing that. So I'm going to have to work on something else. She's going to Singapore from Sydney. So another logical, the thought process here is you want to use airlines that are headquartered either in where they started from or where they're going as your best sources. Because obviously if you're using an airline that is headquartered where they're starting from, probably that airline will have a nonstop flight. Or you could use the airline that is headquartered where they're going. They're going to Singapore, so obviously Singapore Air is a good choice. They're starting in Australia, so another good choice would be to use an Australian airline, such as Qantas. So let's go in here and put that we're going to work on Qantas. Let's see, Qantas. We're going to try Qantas. You put your name here that you're working on it, and you put the word working. And if we're going to try Qantas business and first class, then you put your name on both of these, business and first class. And we'll put working here. Okay. And so Emma's working on Singapore and we're working on Qantas. And let me just do a little sidetrack for a minute. Let's say you weren't sure what to work on and you wanted to give yourself some ideas. One thing you can do is, by the way, you can all still see my my screen, right? One thing you can do is go to a website called Matrix and put in the flights. Well, first I'm going to make myself some notes on what this customer wants. So I'm going to go up to request info and I'm going to write down on a piece of paper in front of me, just so I don't have to flip back and forth. Sydney to Singapore. She wants to go the 24th of March and back the 3 of May. It's business class, 1 person. Let me show you where I'm getting all this from. Okay, here's her departure date, 24 of March, plus or minus a day, so she's flexible. And then she's going to come back the 3rd of May, plus or minus 2 days. So she's really flexible there. Business class, one person from Sydney to Singapore. Return means round trip. So she wants to go from Sydney to Singapore and back. And that's why we have 2 dates here. If one of these dates was 1969, that means ignore it. It means that she's only going one way. And then a lot of times there'll be additional notes down here that you have to read, but there's none on this one. Okay, so I want to show you. I got to get rid of the pointer. Oh, I forgot to erase everything first. Let me go back and do that. I got to get used to this pointer here. Let's see, clear. Okay, and then I'll close this, get rid of the pointer. Okay, so if I didn't already know that I'm going to work on Qantas or Singapore Air just because of where they're starting from and where they're going, I can also go to Matrix and put this in Matrix and see who flies there in general. And so Matrix is just a general website that shows who flies where and how much they would pay if they never called us, things like that. And so this is not something that you would necessarily have to do, but it's something you can do if you want to, just to give yourself some ideas. Always put US dollars down here at the bottom. And we also use this website for a couple other things that I'll show you later. Oops, 2017. 324. What did I do wrong here? 324. Gee whiz, messing up here, aren't I? 324, 2017. And then this one is going to be 3rd of May. 3rd of May, okay. And this was plus or minus a day. And this one was plus or minus 2 days. So I'm just going to look and see what this customer would pay if they never called us and who flies there. This is not necessary, but if you want to do this, you can. If I find out it's like an $800 flight or something, I probably won't even bother working on it. So it looks like the going rate is around 2,300, 2,500, 2,900, 3,000. And the airlines that go there the best are British Air, Singapore, Emirates, and Qantas. So I'm going to write those down. British Air, Singapore Air, Emirates, and Qantas. So those are the airlines that I'm probably going to try first, because see, those are the 4 airlines that fly there nonstop, which is always the best. So Qantas, Emirates, Singapore, and British Air. And the prices range from 2,300 to 3,000. So I've got to match or beat that, otherwise I'm not going to send a quote. So if I find out that my price is 4,000, then I'm going to quit, stop, and move on to another lead. The reason you quit, stop, and move on to another lead is because you only get paid for the ones that you can actually successfully quote. You cannot successfully quote it if you're going to quote it for $4,000 more than they could buy it for somewhere else. And you cannot successfully quote it if you're going to give them like 3 airplane changes just to get from here to there when they could have a nonstop. So there's different reasons why you stop and you quit and you abandon it, you know, and you want to find out quickly. Like if I pull this up and the trip sells for $800, obviously I'm going to stop right there. I know I can't beat that. Even if it was $1,200, I'd stop right there. I know I can't beat that. This is already going to be hard to beat at 23, 25, 3,000. That's already pretty cheap in terms of business class flights, but it still gives me a heads up on which 4 I should try. So again, somebody else is already trying Singapore, so that's why we're trying Qantas next. And then that means that we're going to put Qantas up here in the name of it. So we're going to put Qantas Business in first and then hit save. So that tells everybody two different ways that we are working on it and also what we're attempting, so they don't attempt the same thing. We skip Singapore because she's working on it. Other people will skip Qantas because we're working on it. Okay, so then the next thing we do is go to step 2. Step 2 is how much are we going to sell it for? To find out how much we're going to sell it for, we're going to have to go to the Qantas website, or actually what we could do is take a shortcut, and instead of going to the Qantas website first, we could use this shortcut tool that we use, which is called KVS. So let me pull that up, and we'll put that we're looking on Qantas, and we'll put that we're going from Sydney to Singapore. This is the same as going to the website to look it up, but it's faster. So we'll just do this one first, and it's about the 3rd of May. And after I get the information in, before I click to search, I'm going to hit this gear and duplicate it, launch another instance. And the reason for that is so that I can search 2 different dates at once. I've got 2 instances of it open. And so this one is the 3rd of May. And then she said she was flexible plus or minus a day. So this one we'll do the next day, the 4th of May. We're looking for Sydney to Singapore, 3rd of May, 4th of May, 1 person using Qantas reward miles. That's what we do here at our company. We buy tickets with our reward miles and sell them to people for a discount. So they do not earn miles on the trip, but instead they save money. That's why they deal with us, because they want to get the ticket cheaper. And the way that we get it cheaper is that we buy it with our own reward points and sell it to them for a discount. Okay, so over here, I'm looking for anything that's CS plus or FS plus. So here's one right here. And better yet, if it's a nonstop, CS plus or FS plus. And this one is. I can tell these first 3 are nonstop because they're on a line all by themselves and there's no arrow below them. These that have an arrow below them means that there's 2 flights, they're making a plane change. So this one down here goes from Sydney to Brisbane and then from Brisbane to Singapore. In other words, they fly to Brisbane and change planes. Or if it has in this stops column, if it has a 1 there, then it goes somewhere, lands, takes off again using the same flight number. That's called a direct flight, but it's not a nonstop. It goes somewhere and gets gasoline and passengers and takes off and flies onward. For example, a lot of times you'll see things go from Brisbane to Cairns to Singapore, or from Brisbane to Cairns to Hong Kong. And that'll be all on one line as if it's one flight, but it'll have a 1 over here in the stops column. And that's not a nonstop. It's called a direct flight because it carries onward with the same flight number, but it doesn't actually go straight to Hong Kong. It goes from Cairns to, it goes from Brisbane to Cairns to Hong Kong as an example. And it goes onward with the same flight number, so therefore it's on the same line, but it's not a nonstop if it has a 1 in this stops column. So be careful of that. If you see a 1 here, you know it's not really a nonstop. These that have a 0 stops and they're only on one line, they're nonstops. And these 3 are great flights, but only one of them is available, and you can tell because only one of them has the CS plus. We only use flights that say CS plus or FS plus. C is business class, F is first class. S means super cheap or saver, and plus means it's available. So business class, super cheap, which is called saver, plus means available. Business class, saver, available. That's what the CS plus means. Okay, and we don't really need to worry about the 4th of May because we found the date already that they prefer. So therefore, I'm going to click the swap button on this right-hand one and look for the return now. Oops, I did the outbound on the wrong date. They want Sydney to Singapore on the 24th of March. Start over. So this is supposed to be the 24th of March. Okay, so then this one over here, I'm going to make the 25th of March and look for the next day. I put the return date for their outbound date by mistake. 24th of March. Okay, so let's try that again. So Sydney to Singapore, 24th of March. And this one, we're going to hit the down arrow and try the next day, the 25th of March. So we're starting over again because we made a mistake. Okay, so now all of a sudden there's no non-stops. In fact, this one, only part of the trip is available. Only the Sydney to Melbourne part is available, and the Melbourne to Singapore part is not. And I don't really want these that have a plane change if I can help it, but I might have to use them if there's nothing else. Okay, then over here, there's no C's or F's at all. They're all Y. Y we don't want because that's economy. Coach or economy or Y class we don't use. We also don't use W, which is premium economy. Hold on just a minute. I've got to answer the phone. First class discount air. It's Donald speaking. May I help you? One moment. Okay, because this date is 1969, that means ignore it. And this date is 1969, that means ignore it. So you're going to have to get your dates from the notes down here. Anytime the dates at the top are crazy, that's because the customer didn't put a date there. If they don't put a date there, it automatically comes up as 1969. So if it says 1969, to you, that means the date is blank. There's nothing there. Okay. And it's for 2 people, business class. So I like to write that down on a piece of paper in front of me. And what he really wants is the 16th of June from Sydney to Mexico City. Okay. Uh-oh. Here's a bunch of stuff he wants to do. Oh, I see why he put no inventory. These are a bunch of places that we don't have flights to. I didn't see that. I thought I was just going to Mexico City. So forget that. We're going to abandon this one. So we're going to go up here and get rid of my pointer. I didn't see all these other places he was going. And I already know that we don't have flights to Quito and Santiago and Papeete. So experience tells me that. So I know that we need to abandon this one. So what I'm going to do is first get rid of my pointer. And then I'm going to change this to close, no inventory. We didn't really try anything. So I could get it to work. So really that was none. We didn't try anything. None, close, no inventory, save, get out of it. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. As soon as you see that it's going to be something you don't have available, get out of it and move on, because you only get paid for the ones that you successfully send. So you've got to get good at figuring out which ones that you can successfully send and concentrate on those. So we'll go back to quotes needed again. And you always look at these requotes at the top to see if there's anything new. Otherwise, you go down here to the ones that are fresh. Oops, went too far. Okay, here's the ones that are fresh. Okay, pending quote. Sydney, that one's already have 2 attempts, 6, 2. That's the one we just tried. You know what? As a salesperson, I'm going to get rid of this Chris Lennon one so that nobody else wastes their time on it. So I'm going to take off my quoting hat and go to my salesperson hat now and show you what a salesperson would do with this to get it off the list. There's no reason for anybody else to try that one. And so to find him in the sales area, so instead of pending quote, it's going to be closed. Closed, no inventory. And I'm also going to send him something that says that we can't help him. So that tells him that we cannot help him with it. That's something the salesperson does. You don't have to do that as a quoter. And so that takes it off the list. Here's another help desk person that we need to help. Again, this is a salesperson function, not something you do as a quoter. Lori Haddad, no information. So we'll give her our standard speech about how she's not going to earn miles. And if she didn't put any information in, usually they're just browsing and they're not really serious. So probably she's not going to say anything. Okay, so back to quotes needed. And let's see, I'm just going to check if there's anything we should be paying attention to over here. This is a salesperson function. I'm just getting another one on the list to give us more to work on. Oh, she put her phone number in. So she didn't say where she's going yet. Oh, that's funny. This is the one that we just picked. She not only put a request on the website, but she's also on the, that's the same one that we're looking at over here. We already have her details. I'm going to save this one for us to use as a training, so I'm sticking that on there so that nobody else will work on it. So her request, oh, look at that. Our system has a new format that started just now. San Diego to Cairo. She doesn't even have Cairo in here. So she's given us a phone number. So as a salesperson, I'm going to copy that over where it belongs. What's already there. So I don't need that. 207, yeah, it's already there. Okay, San Diego to Cairo, around 6th of March, return. Okay. And I'm just copying it in for the quoters while I'm talking to her. Oops, that didn't work. Doesn't look like it lets me do that. I'm going to have to type it in. So I'll copy it to another screen where I can put it in the right format. Okay. Cheapest business class ticket, blah, blah, blah. I'm just getting one that we can work on, and we'll work on in a minute. Okay, so that's it. to make sure we have everything. We have 6 marks, blah, 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 blah. This is this for 2 travelers. Oh, 1 traveler, okay. So she wants it for 1 person. We have the dates. So she wants to know how fast it'll come. So I told her we'll have it done within an hour. Okay, so bye-bye. Okay, so we'll go work on this one right now. Okay, so what you saw me do just now is all salesperson stuff. And so then we're going to switch hats now and play like a quoter. So the quoter would go in and see this in the new ones. Get past the, you have to hit F5 to refresh your screen to pick up the new ones. So we'll do that first, hit F5 to refresh. Then we're going to go down to past the 800 hours and get to the new ones, which are right here. Where is she? Louise Demian. Come, she's not in here. Look under her name. Demian. There she is. Okay. So, oh, somebody's already working on it. That was fast. So Crystal's trying CX, DL, and AC. Okay, that's fine. So we'll try something else. CX, DL, and AC she's already doing. So we'll hit new and we'll try something else. Okay, so this is our quote, not Crystal. She's already doing one. So we're going to try, let's see, if she's doing CX, DL, AC, she's going San Diego to Cairo. Actually, AC is going to be the best way to do it, so she's probably going to come up with the best option, but we'll try everything else. Okay, so San Diego to Cairo, and she wants around the 6th of March. Okay, and we're not going to use AC or DL or CX. San Diego to Cairo. Let me think about this a minute. We can try Air France around the 6th of March. So we're going to put in here that we're trying Air France. We'll try Air France, Qantas for now. Researching. Okay, so Air France and Qantas. Air France doesn't have it. It says route too complex. But sometimes that just means that it's not available that day. So even if it says the route's too complex, you still try it a different day. San Diego to Cairo, 6th of March. we'll hit, oops, what happened? I want to duplicate that. San Diego to Cairo, 7th of March, 6th of March. Okay, so it's not available the 6th. Let's try the 5th. That's all economy, so we don't want those. Those are all Y. And we'll try Qantas. And okay, so it's not available from San Diego, so we're going to have to try a different city. So let me show you how to decide what other city to try. If you go over here and put it into Matrix, and I put San Diego here, I can go to the right here and click the nearby button and put, give me something within, say, a couple 100 miles of San Diego that I can fly from. So it says I can fly from Tijuana, Santa Ana. So there's another airport I can fly from, which is SNA. And there's another airport I can fly from, which is Ontario, California. Here's, LA. Okay, so obviously I can fly from SNA or LA as another choice. So what I can do is try, she's working on Air Canada from San Diego, but I could work on Air Canada from a different city. So let me try it from let's say SNA to Cairo. And we can't use Air Canada because their website's down. Never mind. We have to wait on that one for 4 hours until their website's back up again. I already know that this particular reservation is going to best be done with Air Canada. And so she's working on Air Canada from San Diego. So I would work on Air Canada from either SNA or LAX, which are other nearby airports. So it's going to come up as different flights, different option. And it's okay that even though she did an Air Canada quote from San Diego, it's okay that I also do an Air Canada quote from SNA or from LAX. So when Air Canada comes back on again, you can do that. You can go send it from a different city if there's a reason, if there's an advantage. The advantage is there might be a more direct flight from SNA or from LA than there is from San Diego. So when the Air Canada website comes back on again, we would work on this one again. In the meantime, we can try it on Delta, which is another airline that we use. And we can try it from San Diego first. And she wants to go around the 6th of March. And let's see. Actually, Delta is one of the ones that she's got on her list that she's trying. So we're going to try it from SNA from a different city. And we'll try this on Delta from SNA on the 6th and 7th of March since she's flexible. And these, I'm looking for CS Plus. There's no CS. This CS2 is the same thing as CS Plus. It means CS is available. There's 2 seats. Plus just means there's some seats. So CS1 or CS2, that's still good. But it's not CS1 or CS2 all the way. It's just part of it. So that's out. So we tried Delta. So now we're going to try Delta from LA on the 5th of March, let's say. This A means it's expensive, but I'm looking at it because I don't see anything better. We might have to use it. The best is S, and the second best is M, and the worst is A. And I don't see any M's here. CM is okay to use if you have to. Oh, here we we go. Here's a CS. Okay, so we found something on the 4th of March from LA. So then the return is about, see, we can do this because she's doing Delta, but she's doing it from San Diego. And we're okay to do it also because ours is a different city. Ours is from LA. So it's going to be a different quote. So it's okay for us to do that. So her return is around mid-July. So mid-July, I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to go hit swap to come back the other way. And around mid-July would be about the 15th of July. Okay. And she said that it was for one person. And let's see, we need this around the 15th of July. So let's see, CS. We're looking for CS if we can, but it needs to be all the way. See, these 3 flights go together. This one, and this one go together. And none of them are CS all the way. And we could go back to San Diego. We don't have to go back to LA. And even if we go back to San Diego, it still qualifies as a different trip because it's starting in LA. It's different than the other quoters. So you can start in LA and end up in San Diego. So we can still try that also, ending up in San Diego instead of LA. These are all expensive because they're not all CS all the way. So LA is not really available. So we're going to have to go with the higher priced one because we have no choice. Let's try San Diego first, see if we can at least take her back to San Diego. Because if she gets a ride to LA, it'd be nicer if her flight on the way home takes her all the way home to San Diego. And if we're going to have to go with a high priced one anyway, we might as well get her to the city she wants instead of somewhere else. The only reason we're starting in LA is that it's a lot cheaper. But on the way back, it's not a lot cheaper, so we might as well go to San Diego anyway. See, these are all. Here's one. Oh, it's got a CH there. CS, 15th of July. So we're probably going to use this. Probably going to use this 17th of July because it's the best looking one we can find, and it's to San Diego. So we'll use the 17th of July to San Diego, and we'll use the one from LAX, which was on the 4th of March. So we're going to use the 4th of March to the 17th of July. That's one of the purposes of KVS. It tells you what date to use because it's a quick, easy way to find out what's available and what's not. So we're going to go to the Delta website now and see, where's my Delta shortcut right there. We're going to go to the Delta website to find out for sure what's available. And with Delta, you do not have to check it leg by leg. You only have to do that on Air Canada. So we're not going to have to check it leg by leg. We're just going to find out if it's available all the way through. And since it's not one of the airlines that have to be round trip, we can search it as 2 one-ways to make it easier on ourselves if we want to. The only time you have to search it as a round trip is if you're using Asia Miles or Emirates. We're not using Asia Miles or Emirates. So what we're going to do is announce to everybody what we're doing here. What we're doing is Delta, but from LAX, not San Diego. Okay, so that's just announcing to everybody what we're doing, and so that they don't do the same thing. Okay, so one way to make it easier on ourselves, using miles, not money. So I've got the miles checked. We're going to go from LAX to Cairo. And we're going to do it on the 4th of March because that's what KVS said was the best day. That was the day that had CS Plus. It may not still be available now because things change. People are buying tickets. So we might get here and find out it's not really available anymore. By the way, business class on Delta is called Delta 1. So Delta 1 is what you want. LA to Cairo, it's on the 4th. And see, it is here and it is cheap, just like KVS said, so that's good. In fact, there's only one seat left right now. So we're going to select that, and it just has one choice, just like it said on KVS. And I'm just searching for one person, so I'm going to click details right here to expand it so I can see it, make sure it's business class, so that's when I'm going to make it match that. You don't have to go by what KVS says on Delta because we don't have to check it leg by leg. We can accept what Delta says. The only time you have to check it leg by leg and use what KVS says is when you're using Air Canada miles. So we don't have to do that. So we can go into our quote. Let's see, I'm going to write down these flight numbers or copy them. Let's see if I can copy them. I'm just not sure if this will work. Let's try it. Okay, so we're going from LA to Cairo, and the only reason I'm here is to get the pretty flights. Put in the flight numbers, and I got to get rid of all this extra wording. I just want the flight numbers here. See if it'll let me get rid of the extra wording and just say what I want. And I don't want that comma in there either. Just want a space. This is just to get the pretty flights for the quote. Okay, let's see. We are on March 4th. And we uncheck that, US dollars. Okay, even though we're using Delta miles, we're not flying on Delta. We're flying on SV, which I think is Aeroflot. Oh, I see. It has a space between these. I'm not supposed to have a space here. It's supposed to be just SV in the number, and then a space, and then SV in the number. I think SV stands for Aeroflot. I'm not sure. Oh, Saudi Airlines. Okay. So you hit the duration button to bring it to the shortest ones to the top. And so that we're getting the 20-hour trip, not the 44-hour trip, and not the 68-hour trip. And this part of it sells for $2,800 normally if they don't call us. I'm going to make a note of that just so I know. Then I'm going to click as close as I can get to the black line and with the left mouse, and then let go of the mouse, and then hold the shift, and then click at the end here so that it highlights it all. Then Control C to copy it. I'm going to go into my itinerary that I'm building and put that in there, and then save it. Then get rid of the nighttime symbol and the dinner symbol. Make sure this business and this business matches what Delta's offering me. Business and business, so that matches. It has to match what the reward website is offering, not what Matrix says and not what KVS says, unless you're using Air Canada miles. And then we have to look up this one and see if it's a fully flat bed or not, because that's important. They want to know that. So this 2-hour flight we don't care about. That doesn't need to be a fully flat bed. But this 15-hour flight right here, we better go look it up and see what it is. It's SV flight 42. It's a 777, so I already know that's a flat bed, but we'll go look it up just to show you how to do it. So you go to a website called Seat Guru, Seat, G-U-R-U, and then you click on Find Seat Maps and put in the flight number, and that was SV42. Let's see if it'll let us do it that way. sometimes you have to go pick the airline on the left. It's on March 4th. See if it'll let us do it this way. Okay, it wants us to pick Saudi Airlines if it's on here. Hope it is. Saudi. Okay, view map. It's a 777 model 300. And it's business class. It says it's an angle flat seat. You see that right there? So we have to put that in there. Business class, angle flat bed. You don't call it a seat, you call it a bed. Okay, and then we'll hit save. Okay, so that's one way. That's our delta miles, one direction. So we need to put these miles in the award calculator so we can figure out our cost. So we're going to change this to delta. And even though we're using delta miles, we're not necessarily flying on delta. We're flying on Saudi Airlines, but we're paying for it with delta miles. It's 85,000 points plus 3280 US dollars. So 85, and then hit tab, and then I forgot the dollars. It was how much? 3280. Okay, so we're going to put 3280 right here. So this is just one way for one person, 85,000 points plus 3280 taxes. Now we got to do the other direction. The other direction doesn't necessarily have to be on Delta. It can be on any airline, but let's try it on Delta first. Realistically, we're probably going to get it from Air Canada when Air Canada, comes on again. But since it's not on, let's try it on Delta. So what I'm going to do is start over on Delta. We already got those flight numbers. We already got the miles. We already put it in the itinerary. So now we're going the other way from Cairo. And this time we already know it's going to be kind of expensive. So we might as well take them right to San Diego instead of making them drive from LA. Okay, and this one, KVS said to use the 17th of July. It said that was going to be our best day to try and use. One person, Delta 1 is business class, hit find flights. Okay, we're going to look for the one that's the lowest miles. There's 130. 130 is the lowest. And it has a couple of stops, which isn't so good, but we don't really have much choice. We got to click on multiple cabins and make sure none of it's economy, business, Delta 1, and first class. None of those are economy or main cabin, so we're good. So we're going to select this. Even though it's not so cheap, it's the best we could find. Okay, and we're going to make sure all of these are business or first class. Delta 1 is business, so those are all business, and first class, so we're good. So we're going to copy these flight numbers or write them down and type them into Matrix to get the pretty flights. So we're going to modify our search. We're going to click reverse route right there. And instead of LA, we're going to San Diego, so she doesn't have to get a ride. Then we got to modify all this stuff that we copied to make it so it's the right format. The first flight is AZ, and we don't want a space after it. And we don't want this column or all these words, so we'll get rid of that. Leave a space before the DL. Get rid of the space between the DL and the flight number. Get rid of all this other stuff. Leave a space, and then no space between DL and the flight number. And then just in case, I'm going to copy those the way I want them in case I messed it up. Cairo to San Diego, the date was the 17th of July. And business class or higher. Okay, search. And then you hit the duration button to bring the quickest trips to the top. Close it with this X. And then this isn't necessarily for sure the one you want, but it usually is. So that has a 5-hour layover and then a 2-hour layover. Let's see if that matches Delta to make sure we got the right ones. If we click details, there's the 5-hour layover and there's the 2-hour layover. So we got the right ones, and they're the right flight numbers because we typed in the flight numbers. So we know they're the right flight numbers. We just got to make sure it's the right layovers, because some of these have layovers of 24 hours, 48 hours, or whatever. We don't want those. Okay, so this sells for $29.97. That other one, the other way, sold for $2,800. So this is roughly $6,000 that they would have paid for this if they never called us. And then I click as close as I can to the black line, then let go of the mouse, hold the shift, and click at the bottom here so that it highlights it all. Then hit Control-C to copy it all, and then put this over here in our itinerary. You click over here to the right in this white area first so that that black line starts flashing. Then you hit Enter, and that puts your cursor in the right place, and then you hit Control-V to paste it in. You don't stretch it, try and make it the same size as the other one. You just save it first, and it'll stretch itself. And then get rid of the moon and the dining and the movies, because those are links and they'll help send us to spam. And this long flight, 9 hours, I already know by heart that it's a flat bed, so I'm not going to have to look it up, because I know that Delta, anything over 8 hours is automatically already a flat bed. Anything on Delta Airlines that's over 8 hours, that's an international trip, is automatically always a flatbed. So you don't even have to look it up. And this flight is only 3 hours. We don't care if it's flatbed. This one's only 6 hours. That one, maybe we do care if it's a flatbed. Let's go look and see, because it's from 7 at night till 10:30, and it's a 6-hour trip, so that one might be nice if it's a flatbed. Let's go find out if it is. It's Delta flight number 2. And so we go over here, find seat maps, put DL2, and the date is the 17th of July. 17th of July. And view map. Flatbed. Oh, that's good. See, it's a flatbed seat. So that's kind of good to know. Even though it's a domestic flight, it's a long enough flight that they're giving them a flatbed if they want to lay down and take a nap. It's a seat that turns into a completely flat bed with a pillow and everything, just like a bed at home. That's important to know because that's kind of good. Okay, so we got our flights in there. We got the right dates. We got the right layovers. Okay, so we got to make sure we have the miles in here for both flights. Okay, we're missing the return, so we're going to put Delta and go to the Delta website, see how many miles it was. It's 130,000 miles, and so we're going to put that in. 130 tab, that puts the zeros in for you automatically. And then over here it's 1736, and it says EGP. That's weird. EGP. Okay, so 1736 EGP, we've got to convert that to dollars. So we're going to type EGP, and what was it, 1736? So I'm going to go check myself. I think it said 1736. And you can't put any commas or dollar signs. It has to be just the numbers. And 1736 Egyptian pounds. Yeah, 1736 converts to dollars, $106. So we're going to put that in here. $106, highlight it, control, paste it in. Okay, I don't need to split either of these because they're already for one person. And so you normally add this yellow box, you normally change the 1200 to 400, then see how it looks. It comes out to 3478. You want it to come out to something close to 30 $34.95, $34.98, something like that. So let's add another $20 profit for the company to make it $34.99, because to a customer, $34.99 is about the same thing as $34.60 or $34.80. So you always bring it up to about $34.95 or so. Let's take off $4 and make it $34.95. So the GP, which is what the company's making as a profit on the ticket if they buy it, is $4.16. So you call that the GP, write it down, look at this price, make sure it looks logical, hit this middle button here that says Export XML, and then that puts a code down here in this big white box. You click in the white box, hit Control A like Apple to highlight it all, then Control C to copy it. Then you go into your quote, make sure you've saved your itinerary first, and then go up here to the financial info and hit this blue import button, and then Control V, paste that in here. And then we've got he lives in California, so we want it to be in US dollars, but you don't change it to US dollars first. You change it to something else like Japanese yen that you do not want first, and then change it to dollars. That forces it to make sure that it refreshed itself. So we're quoting him this price in dollars, and his local currency also happens to be dollars, so it just repeats the price again. And then you got to put in the retail price. Remember, each way was about $2,900, so we're going to put the retail price as about $5,800, and this can be estimated. It doesn't have to be exactly right. Our price has to be exactly right that we're selling it for, but the estimated competition price, you can estimate it. It doesn't have to be exactly right. Okay, so then we've got in everything ready to send the quote, because we've got the itinerary in there. This request workflow checklist, once we know for sure what we're doing, we're going to put on this Delta one. Let's see. Donald also sent a DL, but from LAX, so that whatever she types in here, we also sent one from LAX. And then up here, we've got the name of it, Delta, but from LA, so that we've notified them up here, and then we also notify them down here why we also sent a Delta besides what she's doing. She's trying to send one from San Diego, but we already put in here that Donald also sent one from LA. Okay, so we notified everybody what we're doing. We've got the financial info in, we've got the itinerary in, so now it's time to hit quote send. And this first screen that you see, which we call the complicated screen, you just ignore it. Don't touch it, don't do anything with it, but instead just hit preview and send again down here at the lower left. This brings up the sending pop-up where we actually are sending the quote. And there's a paragraph that will give you to copy into each one of those. And if you're working for Terry, you make sure you have the one that has his phone number. And if you're working for Donald, you make sure you have the one that has Donald's phone number. And that goes right here. And if you want to remind yourself for sure which is which, you can put in your paragraph Donald in front of the number, so you know for sure you've got the one that's Donald's, so you don't accidentally send Terry's phone number to one of Donald's customers. You can tell whose it is because it's down here. It says Donald, and here's the number you're supposed to have in there. So if you don't have the right one, you can just copy from here, call Donald the Guru and this number, and you put this number up here in the paragraph so that they notice for sure how to order it. So when you are sending your quote, there's three things you do to it before you send it. One of them is you put this paragraph in there. The second one is you go get the US dollar price and you put it in the subject line with no dollar signs and no commas. Whenever you copy and paste prices, it's always no dollar signs and no commas. And if it says USD, change it so it's spelled out so that it's really clear. Some people don't know what USD is, but they know what US dollars is. And we got business class all the way, so I might as well call it business class. And ours is from LAX. Okay. And we can modify this from, if we want, we can type in here from LAX, return to San Diego. And then
And
once
also,
this,
excuse
if
me,
this, what's that?
yes, excuse me, the angle flatbed, it should be, I believe, on 15 hours, not on 2 hours
Oh, thank
layover.
you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, you're
Okay,
welcome.
okay, so we'll put that on the right flight. Okay, and this title is really long, so you can get rid of extra stuff up there from LAX and return to San Diego. Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad you had me fix that. And then, there's three things you do. You put in the paragraph, you put in the dollars in the subject line, and then you put a code down here at the bottom. You click this white area to the right of the signature, and that black line will flash. And then you hit enter, and it puts your cursor in the right place. You put your first name and your last initial, and then how many seats you searched for, and then the GP. I wrote down the GP, which was 416. And if any of the numbers in the GP are zeros, you replace the zeros and put a G like George instead of the 0. So if the GP was 400, then this would say 4GG, but it's not 400, it's 416. So we just put 416. The only time you change the GP to G's is when some of it's are zero, some of them are zeros. So 400 is 4GG, but 416 is just 416. So your first name and your last initial, how many seats you searched for. Even if this was 2 or 3 or 4 seats that I searched for, this price up here at the top is always still for just one person. So the prices are always for one person there. This is for one person here. But maybe I found out there was 3 seats available because 3 people are traveling, and in that case I would have a 3 here. It just tells the salesperson how many seats were available, or how many seats did you search for, knowing that the passenger might want to buy that many. Okay, so this is complete. It's ready to send. We've got the price in the subject line. We have, we've modified this to make sense. We put in this paragraph. Thank you for fixing the flatbed on the
Yes, you're welcome.
15-hour
Okay.
flight, and then the price, and then the code, and then you hit send. Now let's say you hit send and you're not sure if it went, then don't send it again, but instead close it, and then go up here to where it says researching and hit the F5 key to refresh your screen and see if it already automatically changes to sent all by itself. If it already automatically changed to sent all by itself, then you know you sent it, and don't send it again. So if you've got that pop-up open and you're not sure if you sent it already, or you're not sure it went through, then close it first. Don't try and send it again. Close it first. Come here to where it used to say researching, and either hit your refresh key up here or just hit your F5 key and make sure that it already automatically all by itself changes to sent. If it already automatically all by itself changed to sent, then you know that it was sent. Okay, so to review, we put in here what we were doing, and you don't necessarily have to have the customer's name in here where it says name. You can just have what you're doing if you want. Some people put the customer's name there also, and that's fine, but you don't have to. And then, of course, we put in here what we did, and even if somebody else already worked on it, as long as we had a logical reason for also sending Delta, you can put some notes in here and put Donald also sent a DL but from LA. If you want to see it, what it says there, you just point to it. Don't click on it, but just point to it, and then it all shows up. Working, Donald also sent a DL but from LA. And so we did the workflow checklist. The financial info we got from our award calculator. We filled in both ways. You could do this as a round trip, and then all these numbers would be on one line. The Delta would give you the whole total as one line. But with Delta, it makes no difference if you do it as a round trip or as a one-way, so you can do it either way. When it makes no difference, I always do it as 2 one-ways because it's more clear to me. Okay, it's 85,000 going, it's 130 coming back. Here's my GP, here's the selling price. So that $34.95. So if we go, if the salesperson goes and looks at the quote, you can't look at it after it's sent. Well, you can you can go up here to the email tracking activity and see what happened. It was emailed to Lori. It was delivered to Lori. She hasn't read it yet. So she got the quote, but she hasn't read it yet, which means it might be hiding in her spam. So then the salesperson at this point, not you, not the quoter, but the salesperson at this point would take over, not yet because Crystal's not done yet, but at some point the salesperson would take over and would search and look at the actual quote and then call the customer and talk to them about the actual quote. Here's the quote that we just sent, and this is what it looks like, which, by the way, I need to get rid of this because we're done with that. And here's the quote that went out and what it looks like. But maybe it's stuck in the customer spam. So this is what we just did. We moved the angle flat to the right place. We put in this paragraph. We changed it to say from LA and return to San Diego. We got the price in the subject line with no commas, no dollar signs. We got the code down here. It was sent by Donald. There's one seat available, or we searched for one seat. There might be more than one available, but we only searched for one. The GP was 416, and that's a complete quote, start to finish. I'm just looking it over and thinking about it now. So this customer lives in LA, so it's 10:30 at night for her. So as a salesperson, I can't call her right now. Plus, it's not time to call her yet because we have to wait till Air Canada comes on again. So if Crystal doesn't do Air Canada, one of you could do it. Or even if she does do Air Canada from San Diego, you can still do an Air Canada from LA. Do this same thing that we did, but use Air Canada for it. If you have a login, if you're that far along and you have your own login, you could come behind her, and even though she sent it from San Diego round trip on Air Canada, you could do what we did and go from LA and return to San Diego using Air Canada. And frankly, that's, well, I take that back. I think this is the one she's probably going to buy. She's probably going to get a ride to LA because this is really cheap. You know, it usually sells for about $6,000 and she's getting it for $3,500. So she's saving a couple $1,000, and it's good flights. It's only a 2-hour layover here. And here, even though she has a 5-hour layover in Rome, it gets her back to San Diego where she wants to be. And the price isn't all that bad. You know, it's still saving her a couple $1,000. So does anybody have any questions? It's getting close to midnight for me, so I'm going to cut this off and carry on again tomorrow. Is there any specific questions you have that you'd like to ask me before we stop for the day?
None so far.
Yeah,
Okay.
none from me as well.
All right, so just watch as many of those training videos as you can each day, you know, 1 or 2 or 3, whatever you have time for. And then as soon as you've watched 3 live sessions, you'll ask me for a link so that you can get your own login and you can start making quotes. We pay 50 pesos for each quote that you do, that you successfully do. Obviously, we kind of struck out today because I tried 2 or 3 of them that I couldn't send. But this one that, you know, we were able to send, you know, that would pay you 50 pesos for each one, which is $1 US for each one. And once you get good at it, you can do, you know, a quote in 10 or 15 minutes. You know, you can usually do 4 or 5, you know, quotes an hour once you get good at it, and you're not trying to explain everything like I'm doing. If I could just buzz through them and just, you know, quickly do this, you know, you can send them out pretty fast. Some of our quoters really send them fast because they're used to it. They know which cities, they know, you know, pretty soon you get really good at it. And then later on, if you decide you want to help us do phone calls, we have jobs for that. And later on, if you decide you want to be a salesperson, we have jobs for that too. Okay, any other questions, or should we all done?
Oh
No.
yeah, I have one.
Okay.
We have to do like a minimum of 400 quotes a month, right?
No, you don't have to do that.
Oh.
That you can do less or more. If you do 400 quotes, you get paid 20,000 pesos.
Oh, okay.
Well, let's see. Yeah, that's right. $400 is 20,000 pesos. So yeah, if you do 400 quotes a month, you get paid 20,000 pesos. If you do 200 quotes, you get paid 10,000 pesos. It's 50 pesos for every quote that you successfully send, or actually it's $1 for every quote that you successfully send. And successfully send means that you figure out an option that hasn't been sent already and send it, just like we did here.
And there's no limit to how many quotes we can make in a month, right?
No, there's no there's no minimum, there's no maximum. We just pay, you know, for like this quote that we did right here, we pay you 50 pesos for that, for anything you actually do send. If you try and do one and you can't send it because it's not competitive or it's not available or somebody else already did it, then you stop and you don't get paid for that one. You only get paid for the ones that you do send.
Okay.
So, you know, you can work part-time or full-time. You can work in the middle of the night or the middle of the day. You can work whatever hours you want, as much as you want. I mean, we want you to at least work at least, you know, 20 hours a week, and so that you're at least working half-time. But you can work more than that. You can work as much as you want. You know, once you get good at it, you can, depends on how fast you can go, you know. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
All right. See you tomorrow, same time, 12:30 noon time, Philippine time, or Cebu time, or whatever. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Donald. Bye.
Bye.